The hospital lights flickered cold and sterile, but nothing could prepare Rasheeda for what she saw when she walked into that room. There was Kirk, hooked up to machines, his face pale, sweat glistening on his forehead, and doctors whispering just outside the door that he might not make it through the night. But what stunned her even more wasn't the tubes or the machines. It was him, Kirk Frost, begging, tears in his eyes, hand outstretched. "Rasheeda, please. I need you." The same man who broke her spirit, humiliated her on national television, and flaunted his side chick Jasmine like it was nothing, now sobbing like a child, begging for forgiveness as if 2 decades of betrayal could be erased with one hospital visit. But here's where the story turns dark. Jasmine didn't take this quietly. She showed up too, uninvited, furious, screaming down the hall like a woman possessed. And baby, when I tell you hands were thrown, security couldn't even react fast enough. This wasn't just drama. This was a showdown. The kind that changes everything. A marriage, a side relationship, a legacy, and maybe a life. Stick around, because what's about to unfold will leave you shook. Long before the hospital bed, the kidney stone, and the tears, Kirk Frost and Rasheeda were the couple people either rooted for or rolled their eyes at. From the early 2000s, when she was a rising hip-hop artist and he was the business-savvy partner-turned-husband, their relationship had seen it all: record deals, reality TV, infidelity scandals, babies, and heartbreak aired out on national television. But behind the cameras, behind the brand endorsements and glossy Instagram photos, there was a woman who had quietly endured public betrayal more times than she could count. Rasheeda didn't fall in love with Kirk for his money or status. He didn't have all that when they started. She loved his hustle, his confidence, the way he made her feel like she could take on the world. He saw her as more than just a pretty face with bars. And when they got married, it felt like the perfect power move, hip-hop royalty in the making. They built a business empire together, opened stores, made music, and raised kids. But as their bank accounts grew, so did the cracks in their marriage. Cracks that eventually shattered everything. The most devastating blow came in the form of Jasmine Washington, a young woman Kirk had an affair with and the mother of his child. When the news broke on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, it wasn't just a storyline, it was a televised gut punch that left Rasheeda humiliated in front of millions. Viewers watched as she tried to maintain her composure while the man she loved admitted to fathering a child outside their marriage. And worse? He had lied about it, denied it, tried to sweep it under the rug until the receipts came flying out. It was one of the most talked about reality TV betrayals in years. But Rasheeda stayed. Through therapy, through tears, through the whispers from fans who couldn't understand why she didn't walk away. But what they didn't see was the years invested, the children they had, the life they'd built. It wasn't about pride, it was about family. And for Rasheeda, family was everything. Even if it meant swallowing the kind of pain most people would choke on. Meanwhile, Jasmine never disappeared. Despite being painted as the villain, she had a voice and she used it. She demanded Kirk step up for their son, Cannon. She dragged him publicly when he didn't. She exposed DMs. She showed up to events. And Kirk? He kept playing both sides, telling Jasmine he'd be there, telling Rasheeda he was done. His actions never matched his words, and that only deepened the resentment brewing on both ends. The years passed, but the damage never fully healed. Rasheeda tried to hold her head high, pretending the wounds had scarred over. But every Instagram post Jasmine made, every sly comment Kirk slipped into interviews, reopened the wounds just a little more. And deep down, Rasheeda never truly trusted him again. How could she? Kirk's health scare was sudden, but in a way, poetic. After years of being reckless with hearts, he was now facing something his charm couldn't fix. Real fear. Real pain. And when he reached out to Rasheeda from that hospital bed, begging for her to be by his side, it wasn't just about the illness, it was about the years of guilt finally catching up to him. He wanted redemption. He wanted her. But the timing couldn't have been worse. Because Jasmine wasn't done with him yet. She had stood by silently too long, raised their son with minimal support, been dragged on TV and social media like she was the only one responsible. And now, to find out Kirk wanted Rasheeda by his side, not her, the mother of his child, was too much. That fury? It was about more than just love. It was about dignity, recognition, validation. And Jasmine had receipts, messages, voicemails, promises Kirk had made in private that painted him as a man who still wanted her. And now, he was acting like she never mattered. The emotional history between these three wasn't just messy, it was a powder keg waiting to explode. Kirk's body may have been breaking down, but the real battle was for his soul. For the truth. For accountability. And both women were done playing nice. The real chaos erupted the moment Rasheeda stepped foot inside that hospital. Cameras weren't rolling, but baby, the tension in that hallway felt like a season finale cliffhanger. Nurses whispered. Security shifted nervously. Even the walls seemed to sense something was about to explode. Because at the end of that sterile hallway, behind a half-open door, lay a man who had single-handedly created the most toxic triangle in love and hip-hop history. Kirk Frost. Pale. Weak. Hooked up to IVs. Suddenly humbled by the one thing he had never been able to charm his way out of, his own mortality. When he saw Rasheeda walk in, his eyes glossed over with a mix of relief and guilt. Sheeda, thank you for coming, he whispered, voice cracking like he'd been holding his breath for years. But before Rasheeda could respond, the door swung open so hard it hit the wall with a bang that echoed through the entire unit. Jasmine. Hair tied back. Eyes blazing. Hands shaking with rage. She stormed in like a thunderstorm with no forecast warning. So that's it? Jasmine snapped, stepping between them. You call her? When I'm the one who's been here. I'm the one raising your son. I'm the one you've been texting for months. Jasmine, not now, Kirk croaked, clutching his chest as if emotional pain added to the physical. Don't not now, me. Jasmine fired back. You think you can play me behind the scenes and then act like Rasheeda is your only family when something goes wrong? Rasheeda stiffened. Play you, how exactly? And, just like that, the room froze. Because Jasmine smirked. A slow, sinister smirk like she'd been waiting for this moment. She pulled her phone from her bag, unlocked it, and shoved the screen toward Rasheeda. Ask him, she said. Or better yet, read it yourself. On the phone? A thread of messages. Flirtatious. Late night. Emotional. Desperate. All from Kirk. Messages like, I miss how simple things were with you. Don't tell nobody, but sometimes I feel like I chose wrong. If Sheeda ever leaves, you and Cannon are my peace. Rasheeda's heart dropped into her stomach. It wasn't the cheating. It wasn't the flirting. It was the fact that he still hadn't learned. After everything. After therapy. After tears. After humiliation. After promising to change. After she gave him another chance he didn't deserve. He still couldn't stay loyal emotionally. But Jasmine wasn't finished. Oh, and he told me he was divorcing you. Jasmine added casually, as if announcing the weather. Said we'd finally be together without the cameras and the fakeness. Jasmine, stop. Kirk barked, but the damage was already done. Rasheeda stepped back, breath shaky, eyes burning. You told her that, she whispered. Kirk looked trapped, like a man whose lies had finally cornered him. Sheeda, listen. I wasn't thinking straight. It was what? Rasheeda snapped. An accident? A mistake? Or just you being you again? Before anyone could respond, an alarm blared from the monitors next to Kirk's bed. His heart rate skyrocketed. His chest tightened. Nurses rushed in, shouting quick medical orders as they pushed the women aside. And as chaos filled the room, Rasheeda's tears finally fell, not from love, but from exhaustion. But the real twist, the one that would change everything, came moments later when Kirk, barely conscious, grabbed Rasheeda's hand and whispered the words that sent a chill through her entire body. There's more you don't know. Rasheeda froze. More what? His voice dropped to a strained whisper. Jasmine wasn't the only one. The world felt like it tilted. Jasmine gasped. Rasheeda's knees nearly buckled. Doctors yelled for everyone to clear the room. As they pushed the women out, Kirk's words replayed over and over like a cursed echo. There's more you don't know. More. More than Jasmine. More children? More affairs? More lies? Nobody knew exactly what he meant, but one thing was certain. Kirk wasn't just fighting for his life. He was fighting to keep the rest of his secrets buried. And fate wasn't done dragging him. Rasheeda sat at Kirk's hospital bedside, the rhythmic beep of monitors echoing through the sterile room. His skin was pale, his breathing labored, and for once, the slick, smooth-talking Kirk Frost was completely vulnerable. He reached for her hand, whispering words that had been bottled up for years, words of regret, of love, of apologies never said when they mattered most. I don't know if I'm gonna make it, R.A., but I need you to know. I always loved you. I just didn't know how to stop being selfish. But outside that hospital door, another storm brewed. Jasmine had just arrived, and she wasn't alone. A nurse stepped into the hallway, trying to block her path. "Ma'am, visitation is limited," but Jasmine brushed right past, fire in her eyes and phone in her hand. She had receipts, and she was ready to burn down the whole facade. Jasmine stormed into the hospital room, her voice slicing through the quiet like a blade. "So this is what we're doing now? Begging for forgiveness like you didn't just promise me the same thing 2 weeks ago." Rasheeda turned slowly, her face calm but her eyes sharp. "You need to leave," she said. Jasmine, chest heaving, held up her phone. "Nah, we're not doing that. Tell her, Kirk. Tell her you were still seeing me too. Weeks ago." Kirk tried to sit up, panic overtaking his face. "Jazz, not now," but Jasmine was already unlocking her screen, scrolling through texts and throwing every detail onto the floor like shards of glass. "Remember this?" she spat, shoving the phone into Rasheeda's face. "He told me he loved me, that you didn't understand him, that if the divorce came through, we'd be in Dubai by now." Rasheeda's face didn't flinch. She just stared at Kirk. And that silence? That silence was loud. But Jasmine wasn't done. "And you know what, Kirk? Don't act like I'm disposable. Because you were ready to leave her. You were. Or was that just more of your fake promises?" Her voice cracked, but her fury masked the pain underneath. Security arrived within minutes, pulling Jasmine from the room. But not before she dropped one last bombshell. "You think this is over, Kirk? I'm not the only one you've been promising Dubai to." That line hit like a wrecking ball. Rasheeda looked at Kirk, her voice low, almost a whisper. "How many more, Kirk?" Kirk had no answer. Just a racing heart and a tube in his arm. Outside the hospital, the gossip spread like wildfire. Someone had filmed Jasmine's outburst and posted it online. The caption? "Kirk Frost exposed in ICU by side chick, Rasheeda's face, says it all flushed face fire." The video racked up 500,000 views in under an hour. And if that wasn't enough, Jasmine did a live. From her car, with her bonnet on, tears down her cheeks, but anger in her voice. "I was there for him. When he was sick. When he cried on the phone. And all he does is use me? No. No more silence. Y'all about to hear everything." Within that live, Jasmine dropped details no one saw coming. A second woman. A secret apartment. A credit card in her name. She even claimed Kirk had offered to put her on the payroll at press. "He told me, you could be the new face, Rasheeda getting tired." That line alone lit the internet on fire. Rasheeda's mentions blew up. Fans were divided. Some begged her to walk away. Others said she was playing the long game. But one thing was clear, Kirk had crossed a line he might never come back from. But the real twist? Oh, it wasn't Jasmine. It wasn't the second woman either. It was the doctor. Later that evening, Rasheeda stepped out of the hospital room to get some air. That's when Dr. Morgan, Kirk's lead physician, found her. The look on his face was grim. "Mrs. Frost, we found something unexpected in Kirk's blood work." Rasheeda blinked, unsure. "What does that mean?" Dr. Morgan hesitated. "There are anomalies. Toxic levels of certain substances we didn't expect, compounds consistent with prolonged drug interactions. We've seen this before. It suggests he may have been poisoned." Rasheeda's mouth dropped open. "Wait, what? Poisoned?" The doctor nodded. It's being investigated. We've already sent samples to toxicology. But you should prepare yourself. If someone did this, they didn't want him to recover. Rasheeda's world tilted. Who would do something like that? And why? Then her phone buzzed. A message from a blocked number. Just one sentence. If he talks, he dies. That was the moment everything changed. This wasn't just a medical emergency. This was a setup. A scheme. A potential murder attempt disguised as an illness. Rasheeda's breath caught in her throat. Was Jasmine the obvious suspect, or was someone else pulling the strings? Was this why Kirk was suddenly repenting? Not because of a kidney stone, but because he knew someone was after him? As Rasheeda turned to re-enter the hospital, her hands trembled. What had she stepped into? And was it already too late? The fallout was swift and vicious. Within hours of Jasmine's viral outburst and the cryptic warning sent to Rasheeda's phone, Atlanta's entertainment scene was buzzing. Blogs, gossip pages, and fan forums lit up with speculation. Did someone try to poison Kirk Frost? Is Jasmine behind it? Why would Rasheeda go back to a man who humiliated her in front of the world? Everyone had an opinion, and no one was holding back. Outside the hospital, a swarm of paparazzi and local reporters gathered like vultures, hoping for a glimpse of Rasheeda or a statement from the family. Meanwhile, inside those walls, Rasheeda found herself spiraling. Her marriage, already cracked by betrayal, now sat under a new shadow: attempted murder. She wasn't just dealing with a cheating husband anymore. She was entangled in something darker and far more dangerous. Back at press, Rasheeda's staff walked on eggshells. Rumors flew that the store might shut down temporarily. Some employees claimed they'd seen Jasmine lurking around the premises a few days before the hospitalization. Others whispered that Rasheeda's cousin was secretly texting Kirk updates, even after everything. Loyalty was in short supply, and paranoia was growing fast. The streets had their own theories. On the corner of Old National and Peachtree, barbershops buzzed with talk. Man, Kirk messed with the wrong one barber said. His clippers paused mid-fade. Jasmine been holding onto receipts like a nuclear bomb. At local beauty salons, women debated Rasheeda's decisions over flat irons and lash glue. Girl, if it was me, I wouldn't even show up at the hospital. Let Jasmine nurse him back to health, one stylist said. Another chimed in, but if he's dying, maybe she just needed closure. Online, hashtags trended nonstop. Hashtag pray for Kirk, hashtag Jasmine exposed, and hashtag Rasheeda deserves better. Screenshots of Jasmine's live, the hospital hallway confrontation, and Rasheeda's tight-lipped exit from the ER flooded TikTok and Twitter. People dissected every moment. Did you see her expression? That wasn't heartbreak. That was war paint, one fan commented. At home, Kirk's kids were caught in the crossfire. The older ones stayed silent, but the younger ones asked questions no one wanted to answer. Why is Annie Jasmine on TV? Is Daddy going to die? Rasheeda broke down in private, her mother heart torn to shreds. She had spent decades trying to build something lasting, only to watch it crumble under the weight of lies and betrayal again. But the emotional gut punch came when Rasheeda received a call from Kirk's mother. The woman, who had once blamed her for every misstep Kirk made, now sounded shaken. He's scared, baby. He thinks he's dying. He wants you to forgive him. Please. The voice cracked. Don't let him go like this. Rasheeda stared at the wall, expression blank. Forgiveness? Now? After all the disrespect, the lies, the other women? But her silence wasn't coldness, it was exhaustion. Meanwhile, Jasmine was unraveling in real time. After her live went viral, brands she had quietly partnered with began dropping her. A cosmetics line she was promoting pulled their campaign, and a boutique she modeled for cut ties publicly. She posted a teary apology, claiming she never meant to hurt Rasheeda, only to tell her truth. But the damage was done. Fans labeled her everything from homewrecker to career saboteur. The comment sections turned into war zones. Some fans defended her. Let's not forget, it was Kirk who stepped out. Jasmine didn't make vows to Rasheeda. Others were brutal. You knew he was married. You thought being messy on camera would get you a ring. Rasheeda returned to the hospital days later, but not to stay. She walked in with her head held high, ignored the cameras, and visited Kirk without a word to anyone. She stood at his bedside, watched his chest rise and fall, then leaned down and whispered, "I forgive you. But that doesn't mean I'm staying." Then she left. The media reported it as a reconciliation. Kirk and Rasheeda reunited in his final hours, but those who really knew Rasheeda saw through the headlines. This wasn't about reconciliation. It was closure. It was a queen laying down her crown on her own terms. And yet, even as Rasheeda pulled away, something sinister lingered. Toxicology results hadn't come back. That warning text hadn't been traced. And nobody knew who else Kirk had made promises to. But one thing was clear, the public fallout had just begun. The hospital room was dimly lit, with machines beeping rhythmically beside Kirk's bed. Tubes ran from his arms. His face was pale, hollowed by the days of pain and the emotional weight of the past catching up to him. Rasheeda sat beside him, holding his hand gently. She looked calm, but her mind was racing. This wasn't the first time Kirk had pulled her back into his mess with crocodile tears and a trembling apology. But something about this moment, this sterile room filled with fear, felt different. Kirk wasn't playing for sympathy. He looked like a man on the edge of life, clinging to the only person who had ever truly stood by him. "Rasheeda," he whispered, his voice weak. "If I don't make it, I just want you to know. I was always gonna come back to you. You were always the one." Tears welled in Rasheeda's eyes. For a second, just one, she believed him. But that moment was shattered when the door burst open. Jasmine stormed in, eyes red with rage, phone in hand, a nurse and security trying to stop her. "You're lying to her again?" Jasmine screamed, ignoring the hospital staff. "Tell her what you told me last week. Tell her what you promised me." Rasheeda turned slowly, her eyes narrowing. "What did he promise you?" Kirk groaned, trying to sit up, but Jasmine slammed her phone down on the side table. On it was a voicemail, Kirk's voice. Raspy, passionate, and clear. "Jasmine, if this surgery doesn't work, I want you to know I always loved you. If I don't make it, I want you to have my ring." The silence that followed was suffocating. Rasheeda stood, ice in her veins. "A ring," she said quietly, her voice dangerously calm. "You proposed to her, while asking me to come back and sit here with you while you're dying?" Kirk tried to explain, reaching out for her, but Rasheeda pulled her hand away. "Nah. I'm done being the loyal wife to a man who plays both sides on his deathbed." Jasmine, shaking, thought she'd won. She stepped toward Kirk. "See? I told you she'd leave. It's just us now." But Kirk didn't reach for her. He didn't even look at her. Instead, he leaned back, eyes closed, voice barely above a whisper. "I lied to both of y'all." "What?" Jasmine asked, the blood draining from her face. Kirk opened his eyes. "I never loved either of you the way I should have. I used you both. But the truth is, neither of you know the real reason I didn't want surgery." Rasheeda turned, confused. "What are you talking about?" Kirk slowly pulled a folded paper from under his pillow. The stone was a symptom. The doctors found something else during the scan. He handed it to Rasheeda. As she unfolded the document, her hands trembled. Jasmine moved closer to read over her shoulder. It was a diagnosis. Not kidney stones. Not even surgery. Stage 4 cancer. The room fell into a stunned silence. Rasheeda looked up, tears brimming. Jasmine staggered back against the wall. "I didn't want the surgery because it wouldn't save me," Kirk said, his voice barely audible. "It's too far gone. I didn't want to tell either of you because I didn't know who I could trust." The emotional weight collapsed on both women. Jasmine dropped into the chair across from him, hands over her mouth. Rasheeda stood frozen, the betrayal competing with heartbreak. And then, the door creaked open again. This time, it was Cannon, the son Kirk had with Jasmine. Behind him was a woman neither Rasheeda nor Jasmine recognized. She looked no older than 22. And when she opened her mouth, the final bomb dropped. "I'm here to see my father," she said, looking at Kirk. He closed his eyes. "Hi, Maya," he whispered. Jasmine gasped. Rasheeda's knees nearly buckled. Another child? Another woman? Kirk's secret wasn't just betrayal. It was a web deeper, darker, and far more twisted than anyone imagined. And it had only just unraveled. So now the truth is out. Kirk Frost didn't just play both Rasheeda and Jasmine, he manipulated them while hiding the darkest secret of all. A terminal diagnosis. Another child. A mystery woman walking into that hospital room like a ghost from a forgotten past. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. This was about identity, legacy, and a man who spent his life building lies instead of bridges. And now that his time may be running out, those lies are crawling out from under every stone he left unturned. But what do you think? Should Rasheeda forgive Kirk on his deathbed after everything he's put her through? Or is she finally free to walk away without guilt? Was Jasmine ever truly in love, or just caught up in the fantasy of being chosen? And who is Maya, the young woman who just called Kirk father in front of everyone? If your name was tied to a man with this many secrets, would you stay? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't hold back. We want to hear your truth. Because this drama is only just beginning. The next chapter? It's going to be even messier, more painful, and full of bombshells you won't believe. Subscribe now, hit that notification bell, and buckle up, because when Jasmine and Rasheeda finally go head-to-head, it won't just be words flying. Eyes. Would you forgive a man who waited until he was dying to tell the truth? Would you stay by his side? Or walk out of that hospital and never look back? Sound off below. The streets are watching. And baby, we're listening. Clapperboard bomb.